Hi, I'm Zelina and welcome to my channel. This is my personal vlog where I'm sharing any tips, tricks, techniques, just stuff I find helpful as I learn and progress in my personal development / spiritual journey. I feel like there's a lot of overlap, and I just wanted to share this. I don't have any, I'm not working, so I don't feel like I have the same circle of friends or, people to share with. So this is my way of sharing and hopefully finding other people who, are interested in these same things or people that this can help. So today I wanted to talk about techniques that have helped me in meditation. And so there's a couple of teachers I have in this area, and I'm not quite to the level of where I can really kind of create my reality, if you will, or really influence things the way I would like. And I think in another video sometime soon I'll share some of the things where my mindset, looking back, I can see where my mindset really changed the course of my life, and how in some ways I manifested things I didn't even realize I was manifesting, just because I had the right mindset. But for today's video, I really wanted to talk to you about meditation, and I'm not quite at the point where I feel like I could teach you how to meditate. I feel like I'm still a novice meditator, but I think in the last 6 months I've made huge, big progress where I do have more days where I can quiet my mind and just kind of, float on that river of energy, for an analogy, depending on how you see meditation. So, so the first thing I wanted to start with was a prayer for protection, depending on your faith-based beliefs or rituals. You can choose, something that something that makes sense to you. One of the ones I would have chosen earlier in my life would have been the Lord's Prayer, which is usually when I'm stressed and I have, I feel like I have nothing and I'm kind of in panic, I always go back to that one, and that one usually kind of helps me feel peace and kind of centered. There's another prayer that I learned, gosh, it's been over a decade now, for the church I used to attend, and it's called the Prayer for Protection. I forget the author's name, but his last name is Freeman if you want to look it up. But here's the prayer, and I have a slight variation based on, what we used to say at church. And it is, the light of God surrounds me, the love of God enfolds me, the power of God protects me, the presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. And that one always usually kind of gives me goosebumps, and I feel that connection. The other thing I kind of do is before that prayer, I kind of reach out and I kind of address God. So in my mind, I address God, I call on my guardian angels and my spirit guides and the ancestors that watch over me, just kind of building a spiritual community to provide protection. Because I feel like some people I've seen that have turned away from New Age teachings and stuff view meditation as evil, that it opens you up. And well, I don't think meditation is evil, obviously, because I do it, but I do feel like you can be opened up to negative energy, negative things that are kind of out there wandering around looking for good people. God, that sounds like a conspiracy theory. It's not how I mean it. I mean, it's just when you connect and you shine brighter, you attract attention in this world, and I think in kind of on that kind of spiritual plane. So I think it's just a good practice to call in protection. I ask for protection from myself and my family members. And that's how I get started. So I have a hard time staying focused to meditate on my own. So the thing I've been doing that has made the biggest difference is I've found guided meditations. So I'm going to kind of tell you about some of my teachers, and then I'm going to tell you some of the meditations you can find for free on YouTube. So kind of my very first teacher would have been Wayne Dyer. And I had stopped paying attention several years ago, probably around 2009. Just because work got busier, I started getting more successful in my career. So I wasn't working on my personal development as much. I was spending a lot of time working and trying to do things to get me to the next level in my career and make more money. So more recently, because of one of the people that I was following on YouTube on how to learn how to kind of show up in YouTube and do different things, led me to Gabby Bernstein. And because of following her and, different things, I got led to other teachers. And so there's 3 more teachers. Next one is Joe Dispenza. And a lot of what he teaches about meditation makes sense to me because I have such an analytical brain because I was in IT for so long. And that helped me break some barriers in my mind on over analyzing, because like Gabby's more spiritual, a little more woo-woo. Nothing wrong with that. But I find myself constantly analyzing or arguing with her in my head because I'm so analytical that I needed some of these questions answered. The other person I was guided to was Vishen Lakhani from Mindvalley. And he has a 6-phase meditation, and I'm still kind of analyzing that because I would like to share information about it, but I want to share it in the right way and in a good way, because that is really one of my favorite meditations. But that has also led me to Jose Silva, who has the Silva Alpha method, or Alpha, I forget what it's called, I'm so sorry, and I don't want to have to go look it up right now. But look up Jose Silva and Alpha, and you'll find some of his meditations for free on YouTube. So Gabby does have a few meditations. So does Joe Dispenza. I don't think they're directly his, but I think they're variations of his, and some of those are very good. Some of them are kind of clipped together and a little bit weird. So my advice there is, if you find a meditation that you want to try, listen to it all the way through. I would also try to start with shorter ones. Oh, another person, Bob Proctor, has some really good ones. I would try for 20 minutes or less. The 6-phase meditation, there's a few versions out there from Mindvalley and Vishen, and those are really good. But listen to it all the way through so you kind of know what's going to happen before you try it. And then I find the key is either having 2 earbuds in, someplace quiet and separate from everybody else. A lot of times me and my husband will listen to a meditation together before bedtime, and then after that we can go to sleep. Sometimes we do fall asleep, which is something we've been trying to avoid, and I'll cover that in a minute. But again, find a nice guided meditation if you're interested in learning. And there are times where I can meditate on my own without needing a guided meditation. Usually those are much shorter, like 5 minutes, before the rest of my mind just kind of comes crashing in. But a lot of times that's enough to kind of give me a reset and help me kind of level back to being in a good feeling versus stressed or anxious or angry. Okay, so my next tip is around what to do when your mind starts to wander. So being analytical and creative, I have ideas like popping in like popcorn. It's, it's just constantly going. And, one of the big things I find that I have to do is not try to stuff it down, but to relax, observe it. Sometimes I can ask it a question like, why are you here? What do you want? I know it sounds funny, huh? But sometimes by just asking it, it'll just kind of disappear, just float away. And then sometimes, especially if it's something a little more negative or something that will pop me out of my meditative state, is I'll transform it. Sometimes I'll transform it into like a leaf and go from green to brown to falling apart and just kind of just disappearing as dust. Another one is transforming it to a butterfly. So I see it as a thing, then I'm like, okay, then be a butterfly, changes to a butterfly. I'm like, okay, I set you free. And then I watch the butterfly fly away. The other thing that I don't think a lot of people address, they do address it directly, but I see this a little bit differently. It's like when you get ready to meditate, you need to kind of set your intention or what you're asking for or what you're trying to accomplish kind of ahead of time. So are you trying to relieve stress? Are you doing it to improve your health? Are you doing it for insight, like you're trying to help you make a decision? Are you doing it for creativity, for inspiration, or for guidance? Kind of, if you're trying to attract abundance, if you need ideas for how to make money, kind of get clear before you start. Just like, it's my intention to solve this problem, but try not to come at it too negative, because you don't want to come at it like, I want to meditate to solve not having enough money, because that's kind of like an anti-manifesting approach. You want to come into it with, I want to meditate to find more ways to make money, or find unique ways to make money, or I want to meditate to figure out how to be better at my job so I can get that raise or get that promotion. But again, it's kind of knowing your why, instead of, if you're just meditating to meditate, sometimes I find like when I'm doing it just to meditate, I get bored easier and I have a harder time blocking out the extra random thoughts because I haven't set the intention for the space. I'm sorry. I'm so froggy today. I don't know what it is. I feel like we've been going through these waves of like massive congestion in my house. So I don't know if it's just allergies with the time of year. It's behaving like spring here in Texas. So my apologies. Okay, I'll try to pick up the pace here. Also set your vision for what meditation looks like to you. It could be floating in space. Like if you were out in the space surrounded by the galaxy and the stars is one idea. The one I use typically is I like the idea of floating on a river. When I was young, we used to go swimming in a river near my brothers and sisters where they lived with their dad in the summers. I've also been tubing, which I love. It's a wonderful feeling. Also, my mom used to take us swimming in a river. Worst idea ever. Don't ever do it. I don't recommend it for children. But I don't know, there's just something about floating on the river that I find very appealing or comforting in a weird way. But for me, I always imagine it as being warm. You could imagine it being kind of a neutral temperature, be cooler, but always something that's comfortable. And my body feels light, not like I'm floating in. For me, it always feels better to like think of like floating on the water and just going with the current. And that's kind of how I feel like whenever I'm inspired. Like I have a painting I'll have to show you guys someday, of this tree. It's scrolling trees, but when I painted it, I ended up getting it done in one day. And I just kind of picked a book by Robert Greene. I forget the book, but it was kind of talking about inspiration and what it feels like when you're in that flow state. And I just kind of decided I want to be in flow state today, and I want to create this painting. And it just all came together, and I got it like probably 90% done in that one day. And I also feel like that I used to get like that when I used to program, where it would be like, okay, I want to solve this particular problem or accomplish a certain thing, and there would just be times where just everything would click, and I would write more code, I would get more things done, and everything would just come together magically. But the other part of kind of my vision for what meditating is I think I see things float by, like a thought will float by on a leaf on the river, or it'll be a piece of wood or a flower. And also sometimes I'll transform a thought into an object so that it just floats down the river. And the last thing I want to cover before I end this video, and thank you for staying this long, and if you like any of these thoughts, ideas, techniques, leave me a comment. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. I'd love to hear your opinion. So here are some of the common problems I face. And if you wonder what I'm looking at, I've got a piece of paper with my notes so that I can stay focused, because again, I would wander off on tangents and ramble forever. So the first thing is when I'm fidgeting. So for me, I like to lay down to meditate, because then I'm not thinking so much about keeping my head up or sitting up or what my legs are doing. I'm just laying down. I also like sitting in my recliner, because I can have my feet up and it's just I'm all resting on something, and I'm not thinking too much about holding my body up. But when I'm super fidgety and super kind of ADD, what I do is I kind of talk to myself, talk to my body, that I'm like, okay, body, I'm ready to meditate. It's my turn to connect to source. I need to find inspiration for my YouTube channel. I need you to be still and to be quiet. And a lot of times kind of addressing myself in that way gets my body to stop, being fidgety. It gets my mind to stop racing. Also, when things come up, I don't try to stuff it down. I try to just kind of look at it, observe it, and let it go. If you have a problem falling asleep, try finding a position that's less comfortable for sleep. So for me, laying on my back, I don't sleep on my back, I always sleep on my side. So laying on my back makes me have to stay aware and focused. And a lot of times I like to be on an incline so that I can breathe, because with my allergies, that would be one thing that is my dream, is if I could figure out how to get connected in the way that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, And if I could cure my allergies, that would make my life so much better. I wouldn't say like 100% better, but maybe like 20% better. Because I hate having to worry about having to take medicine at different intervals and being able to breathe. And one of the things I've noticed, like in these videos, is I breathe through my mouth a lot when I'm talking instead of through my nose. And part of that is from having allergies for so many years and so long. A lot of times my nose is stuffy, so I don't breathe through my nose a lot. I always fall into the habit of breathing through my mouth, which is, I hate the habit. I really want to break it. And hopefully, as we go in, hopefully and soon, I'll have figured out how to break that habit. Okay, so I've covered fidgety, falling asleep, mind racing, and one of the ones that is kind of a sign of your body rebelling is, so one of the meditations I like is relaxing all your body parts, getting you to just let that tension go so that you can kind of connect to that river of energy. For meditation is, relaxing all the body parts. But for me, sometimes the feeling of, it's like a tingling sensation, gets so strong and that it pops me out, where I have to almost become like wake up or disconnect from the meditation state because the sensation's too much. But that again can be your body. One, you need to kind of determine, is this your body trying to protect you from meditation, which, because meditation might be new to you, you might have conflicting views because of your belief systems. So that could be one way that your body is kind of rebelling until one of the things you have to kind of convince your body is that you're safe, that you are protected. And that is why I like the prayer for protection, because it's my way of telling my body, we are safe, we are protected, it is okay. One of the other things is I'll have bad memories. Sometimes they're traumatic memories that I really don't like, that make me feel like either really afraid or scared or angry or ashamed. And those will come up. And the thing I found, instead of trying to stuff them down, is to observe them. Sometimes it's addressing them, like letting them know that now is not the time. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll transform them to a book, and I'll put the book on the shelf, and I'll tell myself, we can talk about this later. Now is not the time. And this is a way from not stuffing it down and making it fight for attention. It's for saying, I see you, I hear you, and I respect you, but now is not the time. And it's kind of funny, some of these things are techniques I've learned for dealing with my toddlers, who are, they are so amazing and so beautiful. And there's so much in reflecting back at how we raised Victoria, where I'm like, oh, we were terrible parents. It was just, we did everything wrong. And I'm so grateful for her now, to when she's appreciative and when she says, no, it wasn't, you guys did good. And seeing that her struggles are her struggles, and not everything's our fault. There's some things that are our fault, but not everything. And again, it's her path, it's her life to live. And sometimes one of the things that really kind of blocks me in my spiritual journey is when I see bad things in the world. And I'm like, why does that stuff happen to those people? They didn't ask for that. They don't deserve that. But that's not my call to make. I don't, if there's evil I can stop, then of course I'll stop it or try to help. But, it's not my place to judge everybody's life and everything that happens. It's my place is to change the things that, it's like the serenity prayer. To have the strength to change the things I can, the serenity to accept the things I can't change, and the wisdom to know the difference. And even with like seeing my children and how our parenting style is changing and how different things trigger us and trigger reactions that we don't want to have, and having to address those reactions and those triggers. And sometimes it's a matter of, in our own minds, forgiving ourselves for reacting badly, forgiving our parents for being the source of that trigger, and setting that behavior free. Or accepting that I'm gonna have to keep working on that trigger. Like, before I go, and I'm sorry I'm going so long today, it's just this was kind of the inspiration I had this morning for what I should do a video on. But one of my triggers that's kind of ridiculous, pulling a doll by its hair or grabbing a doll by its hair really bothers me. And Evie's just in that kind of state of development where dolls are probably she's probably still a little bit young for them, but she was given some for Christmas and she liked them so much, so we've been letting her have them. And when she picks them up, she grabs them by the back of the head by their hair, and I'm like, I keep showing her, like, pick them up by their bodies and don't pull her hair, and trying to kind of coax her that way to not grab them by their hair. But it's kind of funny because I can feel that rise of emotion where I just like, I right away get mad, like, don't do that. And I'm like, thankfully I'm, present in the moment to not yell at her for it, because she doesn't know, she's just a baby. But it's so funny that is my trigger, because who cares? They're just dolls, they're not hurting anything. But okay, that's all I've got for today. Thank you for listening this long, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.